Hello everyone, welcome to English session. So today we're going to start with our lesson number 3, the collectors, and it's the first session, that is part 1. So let's see what is this lesson about. So let's look into the glossary part. Take your pencil and read it loudly along with the meanings. So characters of this lesson, actually it's not a lesson, it's a play, or you can call a drama way. Okay, so it's like a drama. So the characters are Patty, Carol, Tracy, Glynn, Wayne, Dow, Mr. Hunt, Miss Swan, Mrs. Jonas, Mrs. Brown, and Mr. Brown. So these are the characters of this play. So let's start our first scene. Scene number 1. It's a lonely countryside. The children are out for an adventure walk with teachers, and it's raining hard. Okay, that means the children are out with their teachers, and for some picnic thing they have come outside, and on the way it was raining. So let's see the dialogues. Miss Swan, isn't there somewhere we can shelter Mr. Hunt? Not until we'll get to the village. So Miss Swan says, as it's raining heavily, so somewhere it will be a shelter, right? Can we find some shelter hereby? But Mr. Hunt says, no, until you reach to the village, okay, we will not get any kind of shelter. So Mrs. Jones says, how far is it? How far the village will be? So Mr. Hunt says, it is nearly 3 miles. Sit down. 3 miles? Crazy, I am soaked. Miss Swan, the children are getting very wet. So here the children, the Down and Tracy, they're saying like 3 miles, I'm soaked. Soaked means I'm getting chilled. I'm totally wet. So Miss Swan says the children are getting very wet. Okay, so Mr. Hunt, I can't help that. We will just have to press on, Patty. Can't we shelter over there some? Mr. Hunt, where? Patty, there in that house. Mr. Hunt, that's not a house, surely. Hard to see in all the rain. Miss Swan, of course it is. Trying wiping your glasses, Mr. Hunt. You are right. Lonely place to choose for a house. It certainly was not there when I was here walking last summer. So now, Patty, that is Pate or Patty, whatever. You can say a Patty. So she saw one house, and she said, can we go to that particular place? So Mr. Hutt says, where is that place? And she says, that is the house. Mrs. said, no, that is not a house, because when last time I came here in the summer, there were no house, there was no lonely house in this area. Okay, and we have to go 3 miles, we have to walk 3 miles, and then only we'll get the village. So Miss Swan says, of course that is a house. See, you cannot see clearly, so please wipe up your glass and see that's a house. Understood? In short, in this paragraph, the children were getting wet in the rain, and they were looking for a shelter, and the village was 3 miles away. They didn't get any kind of shelter. So all of a sudden they saw one house, and Mr. Hunt says that when I came last time during summer time, I didn't see any house here, but yes, that's a house. So they got one house in a lonely place. So this is the picture. We can say that the children have got stuck. So it was a heavy rain, you can see in the picture. So maybe in that play it must be look like this or something like this. So now the next scene. Mrs. Jones' funny looking place. Miss Swan, are we just going to stand here in the downpour gaping at it? Down? Yes, can't we go up there and ask for shelter, sir? Mr. Hunt, we can't take all you crowd into a private house. You are dripping wet. Miss Jones, there's probably a shed or a garage. We could shelter there. Miss Swan, we can at least ask. Wayne, yes, sir, why not? Stacy, I'm freezing. Mr. Hunt, oh, all right. So now in this scene, or in this scene, what is happening? Mrs. Jones says that Mr. Hunt, maybe you did not see this place before, but right now we can see a house here. Or Miss Swan says, let's go, instead of standing here and instead of talking about that house, let's go there and let's see whether we can get a shelter or not. So Down says, yes, please, let's go there, sir, and we'll ask for a shelter. So Mr. Hunt said that I cannot take everybody, the whole crowd in one house, correct? If in your house, if all the children kids will come, will you allow them? No. So he says, we cannot go all together in the private house. So Mrs. Jones says, at least we'll ask there. Okay, at least we'll go and ask there. Probably we'll be having a shed, or maybe we'll get some garage where we can stay. And Wayne says that, sir, please, let's go and ask, because we are freezing and we are totally wet. We cannot stay here anymore. So Mr. Hunt finally says, okay, fine, let's go and look for the shelter in that house. As we have learned about the strange house, or the weird house, or the vampire house, which looks like this. Now scene number 2. Inside the kitchen of the house, Mrs. Brown is standing with all the children and teachers. Mr. Brown comes in through the outer door. Mr. Brown, I have hung up all the wet clothes in a porch. Mr. Hunt, I don't know why I'm still holding this walking stick. Mr. Brown, give it to me. I will put it outside with the other things. Mr. Hunt, it's all right. I will hang it on the back of this chair. Mrs. Brown, now that we have all introduced ourselves, why don't you children sit down? Mr. Brown, and the grown-ups can come through into the sitting room. Mrs. Brown, the children will be all right here, won't you? There isn't room enough for everyone. So now, when they went inside that shelter, that house, they found the two more characters, Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Okay, so now they have gone, they all settled there, and now Mr. Brown says that whatever clothes were wet, I have put outside for a drying purpose. And Hunt was having one stick, so he said, I don't know why I'm holding the stick still. So Mr. Brown said, okay, give that stick to me. I will throw it outside, or I'll keep with the other things. So Mr. Hunt said, no, it's okay, sir. I will keep behind this chair. Done. So now Mrs. Brown says, as we have introduced ourselves, so why don't your children sit down? Okay, and the grown-ups, the big children, can go and sit in a sitting room, whereas the other ones can sit here. And Mrs. Brown says to the teacher, I think this place will be enough, correct? For everybody can sit here. Explanation in brief. So here Mr. and Mrs. Brown are the new characters. Okay, they got into the house. So with all the children and all the teachers have got into that house. Mr. Brown has taken all the wet clothes, and they have kept it for drying purpose. And all the elders were sitting in one room. So finally they got the shelter, so that they can be away from the rain, and they can take rest for some time in that house. Carol, yes, thanks. Gleam, oh yes. Betty, we'll be fine. Mrs. Jones, thank you very much for taking us in like this. Mr. Brown, our pleasure. Mrs. Brown, there is fresh pot of tea made in the other room. Would you like a cup? Miss Swan, I would love one. Mrs. Jones, so would I? Mrs. Brown, would you like to come through then? So now in the next one, when Mrs. Brown says, is this room enough for everybody? So Carol, Lee and Patty says, yes, it will be fine. Okay. And Mrs. Jones thanks Mrs. Brown and Mr. Brown, saying that thank you so much for helping us and giving us shelter in your room, in your house. And Mr. Jones says, it's our pleasure. Now Mrs. Brown says, there is a fresh tea in another room. If somebody would like to have a cup of tea. So Mrs. Jones says, yes, I would like to have a cup of tea. So Mrs. Brown says, okay, come with me then. Okay, so here now the scene is happening where all are comfortable in that house. And now Miss Swan and Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Brown, they're having a cup of tea in the another room. Now in next scene, Mr. and Mrs. Brown and the three teachers go out, correct? Okay. The children are silent for a moment or two, looking around. Wayne, you can't hear any sound of the wind in here. Tracy, no, it's terribly quiet. Weird. Dawn, I can just hear their voice in the sitting room. Glyn, it's cold in here too. Wayne, maybe we feel cold because we are tired from all that walking. Tracy, and we did get wet. Glenn, no, not just that. It is cold. Petty and empty. The kitchen reminds me of a hospital. Where they wash up? The in the sink, Crazy, or in the washing machine? That is washing up machine. Petty, there is nothing like that. Carol, there is nothing standing about either. No plates, no pots, no pans, and things like that. Down. They will put away in cupboard. So now, and all the teachers and Mr. and Mrs. Brown has gone. Now here in a house, the students are talking. Okay, so Wayne says, no, we cannot hear the wind sound. It is very quiet. Okay, you can't even have any kind of sound. Okay, and it says that we are feeling very much cold. So Wayne says maybe because we are tired, or maybe because we have worked so long, and that's the reason. So she says, then they says, no, we are wet because the reason we are feeling cold. But just look into the kitchen. So now they're looking into the kitchen. Okay, and Petty says, it looks like a hospital. Okay, there is no sink. Okay, so Tracy says maybe they have a washing machine. You have a machine to wash up your vessels also, correct? So he says, yeah, but in the kitchen there is nothing. It's a strange thing, right? In a kitchen, what things we have? We have plates, we have stove, we have glass, you have water, right? But in that kitchen there was nothing. So Dawn says, I think they have put everything in a cupboard. Can you find something strange here? Yes, we can find something strange because all kitchen items they have put into the cupboards. Cupboards, what you will keep, all you'll keep your clothes, right? But they have emptied the cupboards, and they have filled the cupboards with your kitchen items. So this is a strange thing what the children have found in Mr. and Mrs. Brown's house. As we have learned, children goes to kitchen and they just see what is there and all, and they found what they found. It's an empty, something like this. Wayne opens a cupboard near the back door. Wayne, this one is quite empty. Down, don't go poking about. Wayne. Patty opens the fridge door. Patty, there's nothing at all in this fridge, and the light's not on. It's not even working. Percy, leave these things alone. You too. It's cheeky to snoop besides. They might come in and catch you. Carol, I thought there is something a bit strange about Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Patty, funny, you should say that. So did I. Glyn, perhaps they were crooks. There is their hideout. Tracy, they hardly have letters in. If they were crooks, would they? Down? No, that's silly. Carol, maybe we ought to have gone on the walking to the village. Down, we would have got drenched. So now these children, what they're doing, they are looking into the things which they have in that house. So first they checked in the kitchen was fully empty, nothing was there. And they opened the cupboard near the cupboard back door, that was quite empty, there also nothing was there. And down was the lady, she was saying, don't go there, don't open this, don't do that. And Patty, what she has done, she has opened the fridge. Okay, and she said in the fridge also nothing was there. Okay, we will keep fridge in the fridge, right? What you will keep in the fridge? Fruits, water, and water bottles, and everything you will keep, right? But in that house, that fridge was not even working, there was not even a light. So Tracy said, don't touch anything, just leave. If they come, they will catch you. Okay, and then Glyn says, I think they are crooks. That means they are cheaters. right? Or maybe they're hiding something. And Prissy says, if they wanted to hide something, I don't think they will allow us to come inside. Okay, so Dawn says, yeah, that's silly. That means, yeah, that's true. If they're hiding something, if they are thief, or if they are something people, some kind of people, they will not allow us inside. And Carol says, I think we, instead of choosing this house, we have gone to the village. Okay, and we have got brunch also, no problem, but instead of this house we have got to other house. In a brief, in this slide they says that they were looking into the fridge, they were looking in the cupboard, and everything was very much strange, everything was very much strange. And Glenn says, Glenn had got a doubt on this Mr. and Mrs. Brown, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, and she says, we would not taken the help of these people because I have a doubt, I have a doubt on these people. So as per me, Carol says, as per me, I think we have walked for 3 miles and we have gone and found the shelter in a village itself, because it's not, I'm not feeling good in that, in this strange house. Mrs. Brown comes back into the room. Mrs. Brown, all right here, good. She notices the partly open cupboard door. Oh, were you looking for something in that cupboard? Down. It was Wayne. He was being nosy. Mrs. Brown, I see. She closes the door, looking at Wayne. Wayne, I didn't mean any harm. We just wondered where you put your plates and things, Mrs. Brown. I would rather you didn't touch anything. We have just moved in and haven't had time to sort things out. That's why this place looks rather deserted. Petty, we only wondered, Mrs. Brown. Yes, well, would you like a drink, Tracy? I would. Glyn, me too. Mrs. Brown, will orange juice will be all right? Wayne, yes please, down. Fine, thanks. So now here, when these people were, the students were looking into the houses, Mrs. Brown comes back and she notices the cupboard door was bit open. And she asked that, are you guys searching something in the cupboard? So Dawn says, no, not me, ma'am. Wayne was a big naughty boy and he was just looking into the house. So Wayne asked, I didn't want to harm, but I'm just wondering. I just have a questions for you, Mrs. Brown. Why nothing is there in your kitchen? There is no plate, nothing is there. So Mrs. Brown says that nothing is there because we just moved here. We just shifted to this house, and yet we have not arranged the things. And I hope you didn't touch anything. So Patty says, yeah, that's the reason we were wondering that why everything is empty. So now Mrs. Brown changed the topic and she says, let's, anybody want to have a drink? So Tracy, Glynn, Mrs. Brown and Wayne says, yes, we would like to have a drink. So Mrs. Brown asks, which kind of juice you would like to have? Will you like to have orange juice? And everybody says, yes, we would like to have an orange juice. Students found empty fridge. The other nod, Mrs. Brown, good, and remember, please leave this cupboard alone, Wayne. We will, Patty, don't worry, Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown, She looks at the closed doors of a larger cupboard on the opposite wall. Do remember that. I will go and get those drinks. She goes out. Carol, did you see her hand? Down? No, what? Now, so now others were like, okay, thank you, ma'am, for giving us a juice, orange juice. So Mrs. Brown says, don't touch here anything, okay? Don't touch anything here. So Wayne says, yes, ma'am, we will not touch. So now what she says, she looks at the closed doors of the cupboard, large cupboard, and she says, she saw the large cupboard door was closed. Okay, it was closed, and she says, don't touch anything. And she says, I'll go and get the juice for you. And she left. So Carol said, did you notice her hand? Mrs. Brown's hand. So Dawn says, no, I didn't notice her hand. That means something Carol has found a difference in her hand. Carol, when she closed that cupboard door, I looked. She has 7 fingers on both hands. Crazy. Horrid? Patty, I was watching her eyes. Gleam, yes. As far as I could see, they were all one color. They didn't have any black sort of centers. Wayne, go on. She could be something weird like a vampire. Tracy, oh, shut up. Down, yes, shut up. You were making all this up to scare us, Patty. No, we were not. Tracy, I don't want to stay here. Wayne, I'll tell you something. That rain has changed to thick fog outside. I have been watching it. Glenn? Yes, you can't see anything out of that window. Carol? No, I hope it doesn't mean we are going to have to stay here all night. Crazy, stay here all night? Not me. Don? I don't fancy that either. Let's go. Glenn, can't just slide off. Patty, I will go and tell Mr. Hunt and the others how we feel. Now, as Mrs. Brown went off to get the orange juice, okay, and then they found something different, strange in that Mrs. Brown's hand. So Carol said, when she was closing the door, the cupboard door, I looked her hand and was 7 fingers both the hands. Okay, and she also said, Patty said, even her eyes were different. It was in full color. I could not find the black sort of at center. Okay, and Wayne says, yeah, she looks like a vampire. Vampire is nothing but the devil. She looks like a vampire. And she says, I'm getting scared here. The children are getting scared here. And they say, let's go. We don't want to stay here. Let's go from here. So Glenn says, you know what? The Wayne says, you know what? There's nothing outside. The fog, the rain has turned into the, changed into the thick fog outside, and we cannot see anything. And through the window, you cannot see anything. That means the whole night you have to stay here. And Tracy, Down, and Glenn, they says, no, we can't stay here. Let's go from this place. So Patty says, I will go and tell Mr. Hunt. This is what the different things we have found, the strange things we have found in Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Okay, and we can't stay here whole night, so it's better to move off from here. The strange thing what children found, the Mrs. Brown had 7 fingers in her hand, and her eyes were totally different as like vampire, which you can see in a picture here. So I hope you understood the drama or the play, which I have explained you with the pictures also. So this is the part 1. So children, I'll meet you in the next session. Till that, take care.